Jon Kent isn't gay, he's bisexual. See, he's attracted to a transgender female. Like, I don't know if that clears anything up. And why are you throwing this in? The character's dead. Jon Kent used to be kind of a hot character at DC, had a lot of potential, was the future of the Superman brand, potentially. That has not happened, just with what not only, obviously Tom Taylor did, but what Brian Michael Bendis did to the character before that. There's not a lot of love for Jon Kent these days. You don't really see him featured very often, but he has been, I guess, a fixture within Absolute Power. The big event that no one's really paying attention to. Apparently, the Brainiac Queen takes him, turns him into Cyborg Superman, which is kind of weird because Cyborg Superman exists. And Hank Henshaw is fucking awesome, but we never see him. And this week, we got Absolute Power Super Son #1. And how could you make Jon Kent even worse than what Tom Taylor and Brian Michael Bendis did with the character and make him just even more toxic to fans? You throw Cena Grace on the title. Co-writing with Nicole Maines, with a couple of pretty decent artists. I think it's John Timms and Travis Mercer, who never ever should have been put on this title because they're far too talented to be illustrating a comic book this spectacularly bad. And this was a god-awful week. In fact, when I did the Hot or Not podcast exclusive to Patreon, I was talking to Jim, and it was like, this is the kind of week where you can laugh or you can cry. I choose to laugh and make fun of this stuff. But like, there's an issue of Avengers where they're going to kill Hyperion, and Captain Marvel's like, this isn't a hard decision to make. I'm all for it. X-Men is getting really bad under Jed McKay really, really fast. And there's this girl, and she's got like fins where her ears should be. She likely has gills. She has scales. She's the color green and can breathe underwater. And she's like, I'm not really a mutant, am I? This is supposed to be an impactful moment. And then Catwoman, it's even stranger. You have Hush doing surgery to remove shrapnel from her brain while Batman's talking to her through her tooth filling while she's having hallucinations, or maybe not hallucinations, with a feral cat. And then Jenny Sparks from Tom King. I don't even know what he was doing. We get the idea that 9/11 reawoke the spirit of the 20th century to become the spirit of the 21st century, which maybe would have worked when 9/11 happened, but it's been over 20 years at this point. So that was really strange. And I think Jenny Sparks had already been reborn as Jenny Quantum or whatever. But then you also get Jenny Sparks just dressing down Superman and calling him a pig at one point. This is one of the most marketable characters in all of DC Comics, and you're just scratching your head. You're like, wow, this week sucks. But this Super Son book is so much worse. And there's a couple other ones that I'm going to have to talk about before this week is over. Definitely going to talk about Dazzle with Doc, and there's another book we have to review that was just so much worse than even that bad stuff. Jon Kent has been separated from Brainiac Queen, but there's still pieces of Brainiac Queen inside him. He's on Themyscira. The Amazons are trying to dig deep and make sure that she's fully expunged. So he's experiencing the stuff that the Brainiac Queen made him see, but he's also experiencing the stuff that he really did. But along the way, there's just this really weird fucking story element with Dreamer, who has been maybe friends or something like that to Jon Kent, but it's never been like a close relationship, or certainly never anything romantic or sexual or anything like that. But by the end, they're like fucking holding hands and hold me longer, and Dreamer died, but Jon Kent is so nervous to say Jay, and you're wondering why, but then you're seeing all these not like latent pieces of Amanda Waller's Brainiac Queen inside him. You're seeing these latent feelings towards Dreamer, a transgender hero, obviously, that's played by Nicole Maines in the CW Arrowverse or whatever, and she's the co-writer here. Who thought having Jon Kent go into his deep subconscious and realizing that maybe he was in love with Dreamer the whole time and he wishes he could go back because she's dead now and let her know how special she was? It was so weird. The entire book is weird. It is formatted so poorly. You have Jon going under these treatments by the Amazonians, and then like these little vignettes or moments will play out and they don't really end. He's just not there anymore. It's the strangest way to tell a story. But the strangest part of this very, very strange story is the Dreamer thing. Are they trying to throw this in to reiterate that Jon Kent isn't gay, he's bisexual? See, he's attracted to a transgender female? Like, I don't know if that clears anything up. And why are you throwing this in? The character's dead. And she did kill Jay's mom. Maybe it's just to create some type of conflict, because I guess that kind of comes in here later. But, and then maybe the question that you're supposed to be asking is this a part of Jon's subconscious, or is this a part of Dreamer entering into his treatment and letting him know that maybe she was in love with him, but she's dead? How would she even be able to do that? And I'm befuddled. I don't know. What was this? What was the point of any of it? For people to be more fucking confused than Jon Kent himself is about his own sexuality? Like, I don't even get what was going on there. But apparently Jon Kent really wanted to snog transgender superhero Dreamer, which was never ever hinted at anywhere. There's also weird ass stuff going on in this book. Now, I guess the reason this one happens is because Sina Grace is technically the co-creator of Drummer Boy. And if you don't know who Drummer Boy is, I believe the only appearance this character has ever made was in DC Pride 2020 something, one of those years. And this is a young, body positive gay man that was inspired by the Pied Piper, but is really, really gayed up, certainly in comparison to the Pied Piper. And we saw, he was very flamboyant and very, very fat. But now when we see him this time, he appears to be a cross-dresser. Look at the eyeshadow on this character. He's wearing fucking pearls from Amanda Waller. Look at the color outfit on this character. And you're like, why the fuck is Drummer Boy even here? To my knowledge, Drummer Boy has made one appearance in the entirety of DC Comics in a Pride book, and Jon Kent wasn't there. Jon Kent doesn't know who this character is. They've never literally interacted with each other. So why would they be there other than Sina Grace wants them to be there? And what's the devious thing that villain Drummer Boy is doing? The city is trying to relocate an LGBT test center. And he wants to create a monster, or he's driving a monster onto the shore with his drums to allow the LGBT test center to raise more money so they can find a better place to move. What does that have to do with absolute power? What does that have to do with Jon Kent Superman? That doesn't even have anything to do with Dreamer. And what is an LGBT test center? Is it like STDs? Is it like experimental tests? Are they experimenting on him? Like, it was just so fucking weird. And look at the character design. I would rock better eyeshadow than that. Like, why is he putting it on so heavy? And it's clearly because they want you to come away with, like, this character isn't gay. This character is also a cross-dresser. It's the weirdest book, but it does get weirder. We get another appearance from Galaxy. What does Galaxy do in the book? Appears. She literally does nothing within the confines of the story to affect anything. She just sits there and eats pizza with Dreamer and almost kind of disparages Jon. But why would he think about Galaxy saying mean things about him? If in his subconscious, Jon was insecure about the way people felt about him, why wouldn't he be seeing his dad say that about him, or his mom, or Damian Wayne, or somebody that, is actually interacting with the fucking character? It's just because Galaxy is another transgender character and they had to throw him in there, or her in there, or just Galaxy in there just for it to happen? Like, is this like a fucking deep cover Pride anthology special? Like, where did this stuff even come from? And it's just like, so random fucking bullshit. And you're like, I don't even know what I'm reading at this point. At some point, you're just like, I don't even know what the point of the book is. And to be completely honest, I still don't know what the point of the book is. Everything that they show in there is a rehash of stuff that's already happened. That's all it is. And I guess it's maybe to show that Jon had feelings for Dreamer, but Dreamer's dead. That's not going anywhere, but I guess it does kind of create some type of conflict. And I will give Nicole Maines and Sina Grace this. At least they understand Jay Nakamura is an enormous asshole. And I thought they were building up to something big here, something that was going to be good, that we were going to enjoy. Jon Kent, finally, he's been purged of all the Brainiac Queen. Jay Nakamura shows up. Jon is heartbroken. He's like, Dreamer's dead. Jay's like, good. He's like, what are you talking about? You don't mean that. He's like, no, he killed my mom. It's like, man, we didn't kill your mom. She was under the spell of Waller, and Bizarro was in on that stuff. And Jon Kent himself has just killed a bunch of people because he's been taken over. It's not like this isn't happening worldwide and it's an isolated incident. And I can almost kind of get where Jay's come from. Like, fuck it, but clearly it was affecting his boyfriend. He had no care, compassion, empathy, anything for him whatsoever. And this guy he's a psychopath. Jon, I don't know why he's bisexual. It doesn't make sense within the confines of the character, but they needed to have a gay representative Superman. But can we at least give him a fucking cool boyfriend? Somebody that makes sense for the character to even have an interest in? He's fucking ugly. He's got a stupid character design, and he's a bratty shit. Like, it makes no sense. And when you're seeing this, you're like, well, thank fucking God. Cena Grace and Nicole Maines are going to have Jon break up with her. Finally, it's going to happen. At least we'll get one thing out of this comic book that means something that could be construed as productive or good for a character along the way. No, it was a swerve. They okey-doked me. By the end, they reprofessed their love to each other. And Jon Kent's like, it's time for us to move to San Francisco together. So they're actually not breaking up. They're actually going to move in together in the gayest city in America. Like, I understand stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, but my goodness, these fucking writers make all these characters so one note. They have to move to San Francisco. There's not another fucking city out there. Like, it's so on the nose. Can they go to the Tenderloin district? Can they sleep in a homeless tent and accidentally sleep on some used needles and get hepatitis or something like that? Because it's so strange that they just they make all of these characters caricatures by the end, and then they wonder why nobody wants to support their product. I don't know, man. Did you read the book? I hope you didn't. I hope nobody read this book, because it literally meant nothing in the big scheme of anything. But my goodness, like, if DC, if this is what you're putting out, just stop. Just quit publishing comic books. Just print reprints of old stuff and give up. You're already waving the white flag. Just fucking make it official and stop doing this stuff, because at some point, you're not embarrassing yourselves anymore. You're just a broken down, like, empty vessel shell of something that used to be great that apparently will never be recaptured again. And I understand we got All In, we got DC Absolute Universe, maybe it'll turn around, but they're still producing this shit. They're still making it in 2024. This stuff has been a problem for 8 years, and they know it's been a problem, and they just can't help themselves. No one will ever be able to make DC Comics better until somebody else gets a hold of the fucking property and gets to try and tell real stories, because this stuff's embarrassing. But there you go. Can you make Jon Kent worse? I would say yes. Weird latent feelings for the transgender hero while he's supposedly dating another man, and the guy fucking is happy that the transgender hero died, but Jon wants to move in with him anyway. Like, just makes the character so much worse. If you appreciate this honest perspective and bringing a little bit of accountability to the comic book industry, and if you would like to support me, Thinking Critical, YouTube, you need to come visit me on Thinking Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. And if you support me there and you support our mission, I give you awesome bonus material in the form of tons of podcasts, 40 hours of new material every single month, podcasts, videos, polls, all that kind of stuff. Hope to see you there.